Kanye West just said something shocking about Beyoncé and Jay-Z's kids, and people are not happy. Meagan Good and Jonathan Majors might have just gotten married in secret, and nobody saw it coming. And Ahjah Walls is telling the world what really happens behind the scenes in the gospel music industry, and it's not what people expect. There's drama, secrets, and big surprises. Things are getting messy, and the truth is coming out. This is not just gossip. These are real stories shaking up the industry, and they're only getting bigger. The first big story was about Jonathan Majors and Meagan Good. According to Entertainment Tonight, the couple is officially married. What surprised everyone was how private the whole thing was. They tied the knot in a small ceremony at their home in Los Angeles. Jonathan's mom officiated the wedding, while Meagan's mom was the only witness. So, it was just the four of them, keeping things very intimate and low-key. This news came out right before Jonathan's new movie, Magazine Dreams, is set to release. Some people are wondering if this timing was on purpose, maybe to shift the focus away from the recent negative stories about him. Either way, it caught a lot of attention. Right after the marriage news broke, Rolling Stone stirred things up again by leaking an audio recording of Jonathan. In that clip, Jonathan admitted he had been aggressive toward his ex-girlfriend, Grace Jabari. Hearing him say it himself hit differently than just reading headlines. The situation between Jonathan and Grace had already played out in court. He was found guilty of misdemeanor assault and harassment. The whole thing started after a night out when they got into a fight in the car. Grace apparently saw him texting another woman, allegedly Meagan, and grabbed his phone. Things got physical as Jonathan tried to snatch his phone back. He even jumped out of the car and ran down the street with Grace chasing after him. That part looked wild when caught on camera, but the real issue was how aggressive he got with her in that car. In the audio, Jonathan admitted he had never been that aggressive with anyone before, especially not a woman. He sounded ashamed, but it still left a bad taste. That recording alone showed a side of him many people didn't want to see. There are plenty of celebrities out there with domestic violence cases and assault charges, yet they don't get nearly the same heat that Jonathan is getting right now. For example, a quick search on Ranker shows a list of big-name entertainers with DV cases. Most of them have been able to bounce back or stay in the spotlight without being dragged every time their name comes up. But with Jonathan, it feels like every time he tries to move forward, someone digs up his past to remind people of his mistakes. This doesn't mean anyone is excusing what Jonathan did. But the timing of Rolling Stone dropping that audio right before his movie release does make you wonder. Why bring it up now? Why not let the man face his consequences and try to move on like everyone else? Naturally, people are now questioning what Meagan Good is thinking by marrying Jonathan right in the middle of all this mess. Love is powerful, sure, but this is a lot to take on. Jonathan has some serious baggage, and it's hard not to worry about Meagan getting caught up in it. Jonathan clearly needs time to heal and work on himself before jumping into something as serious as marriage. There are red flags here, and it's easy to see why fans are concerned. No one wants to see Meagan end up in a bad situation or go through the same thing Grace did. At the same time, people have to respect that they're grown adults who made this decision together. Still, it feels rushed. Instead of trying to fix his image with a wedding, maybe Jonathan should have focused on personal growth first. Hopefully, things work out, but it's definitely a complicated situation. Now let's talk about Kanye West, who, surprise, surprise, is back in the headlines for wilding out online. At this point, it's honestly exhausting because it feels like every other month Kanye is ranting on social media, saying offensive things, and dragging people for no reason. This time, Kanye's issues started with his ex-wife Kim Kardashian. He was mad because he wanted their daughter, North, to be on a song with Diddy's son, Christian Combs. Kim put her foot down, refusing to let North be involved, especially considering Diddy's current controversies. Kim felt it was too risky, and honestly, she wasn't wrong. Kanye, of course, didn't care. He went ahead and released the song anyway, dragging Kim online in the process. But it didn't stop there. Kanye started calling out a bunch of other rappers who've been distancing themselves from him because of his constant drama. Kanye took shots at Playboi Carti, claiming that Carti went behind his back and asked Kim if North could be on his album instead. That set Kanye off. He also dragged Iggy Azalea, Carti's baby mama, listing off men she supposedly slept with in the industry. Then, Kanye turned his attention to Kendrick Lamar. He accused Kendrick of being used by record labels to go against other big artists like Drake. According to Kanye, labels don't want huge stars anymore because smaller artists are easier to control. It was clear he was feeling paranoid and betrayed. Out of nowhere, Kanye also decided to share his thoughts on female rappers and even claimed one of Drake's shooters had threatened him. It was a lot to unpack, and it didn't stop there. The worst part was when Kanye went after Jay-Z and Beyoncé, and shockingly, their kids too. He called them offensive names and even questioned the appearance of Jay and Bey's younger children. He crossed so many lines that people couldn't believe what they were reading. Eventually, Kanye deleted the posts, but admitted it wasn't because he felt bad. He only took them down because he didn't want his Twitter account canceled. He even made an offensive joke about Down syndrome while explaining why he deleted the posts, making the situation even worse. People were disgusted. It's one thing to call out fellow artists, but dragging innocent kids into it is another level of low. Coming after his family like that is bound to have consequences. After all that, it's hard not to feel like Kanye is spiraling out of control. Maybe Kanye seriously needs psychiatric help, or even a conservatorship, because this kind of behavior is dangerous. He's burning bridges left and right, making enemies everywhere, and acting out without thinking about the fallout. At this point, it's hard to see a way back for Kanye. He's attacked so many people that if something happens to him, it honestly wouldn't be surprising. People are fed up, and even his longtime supporters are starting to back away. Still, you can't help but hope he gets the help he needs before it's too late. Ahjah Walls was part of the Walls Group, a gospel group made up of 4 siblings, Ahjah, Rhea, Alec, and Daryl Walls. They started singing together at a young age and quickly gained attention for their talent. Their skills caught the eye of gospel legend Kirk Franklin, who signed them to his label, Foyo Soul Recordings, in 2013. On top of that, they were also signed to Block Entertainment, a label run by Erica Campbell's husband, Warren Campbell. With backing from such big names, it seemed like the Walls Group was set for success. Behind the scenes, things weren't as good as they looked. The group faced a lot of mistreatment and unfair treatment in the gospel industry. Despite working hard, they often found themselves being left out of shows, radio playlists, and even award nominations. Alec Walls once went on a passionate live stream, venting his frustration about how the industry treated them. He talked about how people who claimed to love God were the same ones trying to block their success. Instead of support, they got sabotage, blackballing, and financial theft, being used but never rewarded fairly for their work. Ahjah later opened up about her own painful experiences. She shared that most of the tours they performed on didn't pay them at all. They were told that no one was getting paid, only to find out later that everyone else did, just not them. They were constantly used for their talent, whether it was singing, writing, or performing, but were rarely compensated. Over time, this made them feel drained and taken advantage of. Since they were just kids when they started, they didn't know the business side and were easy targets. All they wanted to do was sing for God, but instead, they were treated like tools for other people's gain. The Walls group also faced jealousy from older gospel artists. Instead of celebrating the younger group's success, many of these artists became bitter and competitive. Some were upset that the Walls group's songs were charting higher or getting more attention. Ahjah found it crazy that grown adults in the gospel industry would compete with kids, treating them like enemies rather than supporting their journey. The industry felt more like high school drama than a community of faith. Ahjah didn't hold back when talking about how dirty things really got. She revealed that some people in the gospel industry compromised their morals just to get ahead. Whether it was for awards, radio play, or fame, people were willing to do whatever it took. Ahjah shared a personal story where someone from a major label approached her and suggested she switch up her image to be more sultry and sexy, even in gospel music. For her, that was the breaking point. She couldn't understand why anyone would think seducing people to Christ made sense. One of the most heartbreaking things Ahjah shared was about how people in the industry didn't care that they were kids. There were adults who saw them as easy targets, not just financially, but in other disturbing ways too. Ahjah explained how being young, exposed, and without real protection made them vulnerable to predators. This wasn't what they signed up for, and it left lasting scars. At the end of the day, Ahjah realized that the gospel industry wasn't really about God. It was just a business where money mattered more than faith. She made it clear that anyone in that space has to look out for their own spiritual health because the industry certainly won't. The real mission of spreading God's word often gets lost in the greed, jealousy, and shady deals happening behind closed doors. So much is happening, and this drama is far from over. Kanye's words are sparking major reactions, Meagan and Jonathan's relationship is raising questions, and Ahjah Walls' truth is shaking the gospel industry. Things are unfolding fast, and there's no telling what's next. Make sure to stay tuned for more updates, because this story is only getting bigger. If you don't want to miss what happens next, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. There's always more to uncover, and you won't want to be left out.